Okay, I want to learn a little bit the halachos of the Seder night. Maybe we'll have to relearn it again. We'll give you pieces of paper. Okay, if I could have your sweetest attention, brothers and sisters, time. You know the way we do it? After Pesach night, I go to shul, then I'm taking my family for a walk to get some fresh air, then we come home, and then my wife says, maybe let's make the table for the Seder, and then we have time. We take a little bit of rescue before, so we'll be like really relaxed. And then later on we make a Seder. How does it sound to you? I want you to know that the Seder table has to be set, mamish, at least by 12, by 1 o'clock. It has to be set. When the Russian Tsar comes to visit me, I don't wait till he rings the bell. Say, hey, listen, Brother Tsar, I'm just about setting the table. It doesn't go this way.
I remember as a little girl that when I would wake up in the morning of Pesach, it was a treat to, as soon as I woke up, to run to see how, whenever I woke up, the table was already set.
Good.
That was the first thing my mother would do.
Has to be. According to... David is a Gewalt. David is a Rebbe.
It's not how we're going to wake up now.
According... You were once good. But then, according to some Kabbalim, you should set the table 3 days before. This is very deep. By Matan Torah, we had Shloshis G'mei 3 days to prepare ourselves. But this is Torah Shebiksav. And we'll go into later on. I want you to know all the preparation for Shavuos, for Pesach, is all Torah Shebal Peh. It says in the Torah, don't eat chometz, right? And it says, Seder night we have to eat Korban Pesach, right? The whole thing of the Seder. And the whole thing, you're Novi writing the Haggadah for us, right? All Torah Shebal Peh. Added. So when we got to Torah Shebiksav, you see, Pesach is mamish both. It's Torah Shebal Peh and it's Torah Shebiksav, right? But 3 days. I'm just giving you the most important part. But this is only the first day. But for the second day, you cannot set the Seder table during the first day for the second night. Then you have to wait till it's night. Mamish night. We have something very important. Do you know that on Shabbos, I am permitted to make Kiddush? Imagine someone makes Shabbos very early, from Plaka Mincha on, let's say Lichtbenchen is 6:20, and already 5 o'clock I daven Mincha and Marv, and I come home and I make Kiddush before 3 stars are showing. According to 90% of the poskim, it's 100% okay, because, by Shabbos it's a halacha of Tosfos Shabbos, to add to Shabbos. And also again, I don't want to repeat myself, but you have to forgive me. Remember, we're learning it, Rab Nachman talks about it 1,000 times. Is it on or is it the one? Oh, good. Yeah. Chava, one of the fixings of the tree of knowledge is that she is benching licht. Is a woman benching licht 1 split second before the 3 stars are showing? Adding to Shabbos, right? Torah Shebal Peh. Adding. You see what it is? the tree of knowledge is so dead. Anything dead you cannot add to. I'll tell you something. You read to me a dead Torah. What can I add? You tell me a dead story. You know what life is? It's growing. Growing is adding, right? The tree of knowledge doesn't grow. Has no smell. If you remember that the tree of knowledge has no smell. That's why we, right after Shabbos, we make psumim, because I want to be connected to the tree of life. The tree of life smells good. So on Shabbos, I can make Kiddush in Toisus Shabbos. But when it comes to the Seder, I cannot begin the Seder before the 3 stars. You know why? Because there it says in the Torah, Erev Tochlo Matzos. I mamish have to eat the matzah when it's done. You see, on the level of Kedushas Yom Tov, Kedusha of the day, I can add. That means when I'm Kabbalah on myself Pesach, let's say the Holy Sisters Ben Shlicht, it's Yom Tov. So I'm not permitted to do anything else anymore. But when it comes mamish to the Seder, what's Pesach has to be night. And here's a little bit of a controversy among the poskim. What's about davening Maariv, first night of the Seder? So is this also part, because the night of Pesach, since Maariv is also part of the night, everything has to be at night, or it's just the matzah? Okay, I leave it up to you. Also, I'm sure you know this. This is very, very important. You don't sit down late afternoon by the Seder and have a big meal. You can eat something, you know. You don't have to be completely dying from hunger, you know. But basically, Pesach after 12, you don't have a meal. I mean, if you eat something, you eat something. Everybody eats something in order not to sit by the Seder and think of food. You remember what the Kuzma says? It's better to eat and think of davening than daven and think of food, you know? Yeah. Then it's very, very, very important. This is Gewalt. The Seder, the table of the Seder must have 4 feet. First of all,
4 legs.
4 legs, yeah, I'm sorry. 4 feet, 4 legs, yeah.
Walk out of Egypt.
Mamish. David Yarabba Mamish. You have to write your Hagos on Shechanoch, you know. You know this, the Huadin Legatkis, you know, like this. He was Hagos. Anyway. First of all, you know, I mean, those 4 feet, I don't want to get involved too much in it, but because, first of all, Dalet Ragle Shchine, you know, God's wagon, God's vehicle has 4 wheels or 4 legs. Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and David HaMelech. But also, you know, the table belongs to the woman, you know, preparing the food. So it's the 4 mothers. You need 4 legs for the table. And also has, God's name has 4 letters. And also something else. The table on which you eat matzah has to stand strong. Mama strong. You know what the difference between a person in exile and a person who is free? An exiled person does everything right, but doesn't take a stand. You know what the saddest thing is? I don't want to say anything bad to be Ma'aradin on Israel. What's the problem? On one hand, we're licking the goyim, right? We don't lick the Yidden so much. and we don't take a stand. We're winding our way. Take a stand. One time. You know, if Israel would say one time to the whole world, go to hell. God gave us the land. They would stop. Because they would know, you remember the story about this little Jewish boy who went to Catholic school and suddenly was a good student. Remember the all stupid joke? Because he saw Jesus hanging on the wall. He says, I see them mean business, There's another stupid joke like this, that this Jewish boy goes to a Catholic school, in comes the priest. He says, I give you $100 if you tell me who was the greatest person in the world. So one says, Einstein, one says Kennedy, Shakespeare. Then a Jewish boy, Moishele, holds up his hand. He says, the greatest man was J.C. So the priest says, what's your name? He says, Moshe. He says, Moshe, aren't you Jewish? He says, yeah. He says, but business is business, Okay. Then it's very important, everybody knows, on the table of the Seder you put 2 tablecloths. 1 tablecloth just over the table, then 1 more. And now something else, this is very, very important. That, I don't know how rich all of us are, but it's really a custom, mamish, you put all the gold and silver you possess, you put it on the table. Because the night we left Egypt, if you remember, we took all the gold and all the silver of Egypt. And you remember the story. Why was there 3 days darkness? Because God promised Abraham, then we walk out from Egypt, we'll be rich. So God says to Moshe Rabbeinu, do me a favor, I don't want Chas v'Sholom Abraham to be angry at me. So Yoma ois zoken, vavon avinu oisem kiyamto, v'achach yetzim choshkot loy kiyamto. You remember when God said Abraham, and said, yeah, slaves you made them, that you kept. But to walk out rich, you didn't. So we walked into all the Egyptian houses, give me some gold. And so we have nothing. But during the 3 days, listen to this, very, very important. During the 3 days of darkness, you know how strong the darkness was? They couldn't move, not just they couldn't see. It was heavy darkness. We walked into all the Egyptian houses, and we saw everything they have. Now listen to this. You know what blew the minds of the Egyptians? They could have stolen everything. But we didn't steal one thing. We walked into the house of the Egyptian and we said, want to borrow some gold and silver from you? Vayesh Elam, right? Give it back to you. And they trusted us because they knew we are not thieves. And I want you to know something awesome. If the Egyptians would have not run after us by the Red Sea when they all drowned, maybe we would have given it back to them. I don't know. But they all drowned. But it was such a Kiddush Hashem that said, oh, Mamish, Yidden don't steal. And just imagine, there were nearly 3 million slaves, and not one of them, take today, the way the world is, when it's dark, they steal, and who knows what they're doing. We would have a strong claim, you're making slaves out of us, you haven't paid us anything for 210 years, right? Not one thing was missing, right? Okay, but Seder night, I want you to know this is Zer Kodesh. What's the difference between a slave and a prince? A slave takes and a prince receives. He didn't want to take, wanted to receive. And also you see what it is. We didn't take freedom. Freedom is not something you can take. Freedom is a gift from heaven. You have to receive it. Wow, right. I know there are hundreds of stories about the Heilige Rishnik, who Mamash had a lot of gold and silver. Mamash. God. Then he said, we were learning it, this is Mamash beautiful, this is Mamash for all the holy Hippolach. It's a custom that you put a lot of incense on the Seder. I don't know what you're doing, but it's beautiful to put incense and flowers on the Seder table.
No incense burning?
Obviously not just to look at, No, he's right. Yeah. Yeah, but this seems to be his father's minik, yeah. Now he talks. Yeah, Peter McTorris. Okay. However, this is very, very beautiful. This is for you, Dovidler, to Dovidler. If someone had the privilege of writing a sefer, so this is my Rechush Godel, right? I'm walking out of Egypt with all the Torah I learned, everything I learned from all my sad days of slavery. So all the pain I went through, I learned so much. Or imagine someone keeps a diary of all his mamish, the Shoma traveling, right? So you put this also on the Seder Shus. Because the question is, after you walk out into freedom, what did you gain by it, right? I gained so much, I learned so much. And if you wrote it down, you put it on the Gewalt, right? Then something very special. Imagine you have domestic help, and then, you feel like going to the beauty parlor Erev Pesach, and you tell your domestic help, can you please get to Seder, the table for the Seder together? No. I mean, in emergency, but Mamash, it's the greatest privilege. It is the greatest privilege to do it yourself. I'm not sure now, but I remember something, that the Heilige Rishon himself would put all the gold and silver on the Seder, on the table. Then there's something very special. Again, I don't want to press anyone or say anything, but basically it says that all the holy women who prepare the table of the Seder should go to the mikveh before. I know in Bobov, the Heilige Rebbetzin, I remember Erev Pesach, when the Bobov Rebbe came, they made a mikveh. So Mamash, I remember Erev Pesach, because the mikveh, then suddenly was a big sign by the mikveh. From 2 to 4, the Rebbetzin is going to the mikveh. Go out, right? So, if you can. Okay. And there's one more very, very important thing. 1 second. One second. We have time. I want to just learn one more very important thing. Then I would like to learn a little bit more insight. You have to wear white by the Seder. You mamish have to. That means women should wear white dresses. Again, I mean, if you don't have to, if you don't have it, you have it. But if you can. And men should wear a kittel. But this is, again, like only after they get married. And I really don't know why, but this is what it is. Okay, here are two Torahs which are very, very important. One say that you wear a kittel. You know, when do you wear a kittel? God forbid, we should all live long and happy. But God forbid, if a person dies, what is he wearing? A kittel, right? White. So Seder night, and I want you really, this is the deepest. Seder night, we're wearing a kittel. On an outside level, means to remind ourselves, you know, when we think of God forbid leaving this world, it's not to make me sad, but to make me aware that you have to do something while you're here. You remember we were learning that on one hand, it's heartbreaking that we don't live forever. On the other hand, just imagine, I would live forever, right? I meet a girl, I like her very much, take her number, and I says, you know, I think I'll call you in 100,000 years. I live forever, right, after time, right? How does it sound to you? What's the rush? In the morning or the afternoon, right? I want to learn the whole Shas. What's the rush? I tell Dovital, you know, 2 million years from now, let's meet in Yerushalayim, and we'll learn. On one hand, it's heartbreaking that we're not living forever. On the other hand, life became so much more concentrated. Because it's so deep, you know. Life has become so much more deep in a certain deep way. So Seder night, we are wearing a white kittel to remind ourselves that, but then I don't like this so much. It's a little bit. I mean, I'm sitting there with the Seder, thinking, oh, you're very gewalt, you know, 100 years from now. God forbid, you know. Doesn't sound good to me. This is really good. Remember, we are learning the whole time that Pesach is the tree of life. You know why we wear white when we leave this world? And really I want you to open your hearts, it's the deepest. There's a whole machlokes in the Zohar. What were the colors of our three holy fathers? According to one, in the Zohar Kodesh says that Avraham Avinu's color was tcheles, was blue. Yitzchak was red, and Yaakov was green. And there's a whole Torah, you know, Ramendel the Volker, the silent Rebbe, his color was green. Green is growing. And there's a whole Torah thing, I shared it with you. His grandson was also called Ramendel, who was like, mamish like his grandfather. Like, awesome. And this is a diary which was written by his daughter. It was never printed, and I only had the privilege to get this diary for one night. One of the Volkswagen gave it to me. I had to promise him I'll give it back the next morning. I tried to read as much as I could. So she writes like this. Everybody knows that my Zayder, a man of the Volker, his color was green. Everything in the house was green. And she says, my holy father was named after my Zayder, Elter Zayder. Everything is green. God bless you. Then she says, my holy mother died. Her mother was so beautiful. When she spoke, it was so soft and so sweet. And you know, I don't want to say anything bad. In those days, Rebbe's Nebuch, you know, especially when Nebuch, Rebbe's wife died and leaves him with a few children, then the Chassidim got together and they marry him off as another Rebbe's daughter, you know. So one day my father came, he says I was 8, and he comes and he says, I got married again. And the woman walks in. First of all, her voice. Whew. So loud and so... I couldn't understand how my father could marry such a woman. And then she says, she walks us out, she says, I don't like green. So she says, 8 years old little girl, she says, I knew right away that she is not my father's soulmate. Unbelievable. And then she writes that every night I was crying in my sleep. I couldn't understand how my father can live with such a woman. She didn't give any ounce of cover to my father. She mistreated us, the children. She didn't hit us, but it was terrible. And I couldn't understand my father. And I saw Mama, she's completely withdrawn. She's so broken. One day, she wasn't there anymore. And that night, for the first time again, my father came to sit on my bed. And he says to me, I know how much you have suffered. I just want you to know I divorced her today. Because she was not my soulmate. She said, I was so proud of my father. I was so proud. Then she says, I was already 9. One day my father came with another woman. Oh, it was so beautiful. Her voice was so sweet. And when she walked in, her mama, she knew she is my new mother. And my father says to her, what's your favorite color? She says, green. Ah. It's my father's soulmate. So sweet, you know. It's unbelievable. Awesome. I don't know why they never gave it to be printed, you know. It's the sweetest. See, it's not miracles of the rabbis, but like mamish, the down-to-earth, the family life. It's so sweet, you know. So Yaakov was green. But then there's another shit in the Zohar, which is awesome, that Avraham Avinu was white. Yitzchak, everybody agrees, is red, Din, and Yaakov is Tcheres. Anyway, what's white all about? You know what we do? We paint our face all the time. Basically, white is not a color. White is. Red is a color, green is a color. White is not a color. It's beyond all colors, right? You know what paganism is? And I'm not talking about idol worship to bow down before a piece of wood. Nobody's doing that. You know what the Pshischa says? Imagine that the Pshischa Torah. Someone asked him, what's real pagan? What means don't worship idols today? He says, I'll tell you, he says. He said to this, obviously it was something. He says, you want to be a rebbe, right? That means you want people to think that you're a holy man. And here you're sitting Friday night, and your wife gives you soup, and you're burning up to have a second time soup. But then you say, hey, I want people to think I'm holy. So he says, no. Shabbos, eating 2 plates. Right? This is endless of paganism, he said. You worship yourself. You paint yourself as something you're not. That's paganism. You know, all of us, we have painted faces. You know what Seder night is, going out of exile? To wash off all the paint. I don't want to say anything bad, but look at around today. This one is painted Orthodox, this one is painted conservative, this one is painted Reform. It's all paint. It's stupid paint, right? You maybe wash them off, it'll be all the same, right? It's all paint. Someone told me an unbelievable story. He said getting involved in conservative reform. There was a big convention, and first was this Orthodox rabbi, and the conservative rabbi, and then the Reform rabbi. The Reform rabbi once learned a Mesivta Torah with Das. His mind was sharpened. So he says to the Reform rabbi, "Who's your president?" He points out to this Yid. He says, "Hey," he says, "Are you driving Shabbos morning to the synagogue?" He says, "Yes." Then he says to the conservative, "Who's your president?" He says, "This one." He says, "Are you driving?" You gotta go. I miss you. Can you give me your number? Good. Thank you for coming. Are you bringing her tomorrow? Better. Okay, but thank you anyway. You hear, friends? He's very clever. So then the Reform rabbi said to the Orthodox rabbi, "Who's your president?" And he says, Moshe there. He says, "How do you get Shabbos morning to the synagogue?" He get all red in the face. Anyway, he admitted he is driving till 2 blocks before the shul. So he says, "What are we fooling each other? What are we fooling each other?" He says. Why don't we make peace, you know? He says, does anybody here think we shouldn't keep Shabbos? You think my president doesn't know that he shouldn't drive on Shabbos? And doesn't your president from your Orthodox shul know that he shouldn't drive on Shabbos? Anyway, it was a good meeting. All this paint, right? I want you to know something. Sometimes you meet people, they're so painted, you know. What's the most beautiful thing? When you meet a real person without paint. No paint. I'm sure we all had. You know, children have no paint yet. Until, God forbid, Mama should send them to school, or they have to have the paint of a good student, or they have to have the paint of a Gewalt student, or they have to have the paint of a wild student. All paint. Seder night we were white. I want you to know, paint smells for death. Because anything which isn't for real doesn't last. And here comes the deepest Torah. And basically, you know, it's the Torah from Ishbitz. It's so deep. I don't want to get involved in it's a play on words. But he says the Kohen is blessing us that the brachas shouldn't be painted. God blesses us all the time. But when you are painted, God sends you a painted bracha. Bracha is the way, what level you are, that's how the blessing comes. So it says that the blessing of the Kohen is that the bracha should be mamish for real. You know what means a painted bracha? It's not really a bracha. Just looks like one, right? You know how many times we are disappointed because we thought it's the greatest thing which happened to us? Then it wasn't. It was just paint. Well then, the deeper steps. Seder night we mamish abolish death. Because the moment we eat the matzah, who's the tree of life, and then suddenly I realize I don't have to wear the kittel anymore after 100 years. From now on, the kittel, on the contrary, this kittel becomes a symbol of life. The kittel, you know, I remember I always tell people, why does a chosin wear a kittel by the chuppah? You know what he says to the color? Because of you, I'll never eat the tree of knowledge, because the first Chava made me eat the tree of knowledge. Because my Chava will give me only food from the tree of life. So I don't have to wear the kittel after I leave, after 100 years. On the contrary, I'm wearing it now to the wedding. But then here comes the Sofer Shabbat Torah, which is a little bit moral and a little bit Sofer Shabbat. You know who wears white? The high priest when he walks into the Holy of Holies. You know what that means? You know what means the Holy of Holies? It's a little bit like the first Torah, to be so real. You know, when Aaron HaKohen walks into the Holy of Holies, why doesn't he ask for forgiveness? Because when he walked into the Holy of Holies, it's clear to him, if I did something wrong, it didn't come from the deepest depths of me. It didn't come from the real me. It was outside stuff. The world made me do it, the environment, or the stupidity I picked up. Seder night, I'm almost like the high priest in the Holy of Holies. But then he adds something more. You know, children are completely untouched by the world yet. So their heart is mamish the Holy of Holies. So Seder night, when I'm giving over to my children that there is one God, I mamish have to wear white like the high priest. This is the way to go out, right? Because everybody knows the whole Seder is to give over to my children God knowledge. You see, on Shavuos, I'm teaching Torah to my children. But my children don't ask me first. They're just passive. They're learning, I teach them. Seder night. Oh, Seder night is so deep, Amish. Because, you know something? When I want to tell something very, very deep to a person, I cannot walk up to him and tell them, I want to tell you something very, very deep. But if they ask me, means their heart is open, then I can tell them the deepest, deepest depths of the Torah. The deepest, deepest, deepest depths of Yiddishkeit is Ani v'le malach, ani v'le sof, ela Kodesh Baruch Hu v'chvayda ba'atzma. There is one God. So the Heilige Sorot says that Seder night is mamish when we give over to our children. And you know what it is? But Aaron HaKohen, you know, Moshe Rabbeinu gives us a title. What's Aaron HaKohen calling out the Shem HaMeforesh? Because Aaron HaKohen is the master of giving us over God knowledge. Shem HaMeforesh. Yeah?
So according to what the Second Shem said, is that maybe the reason why it was Ketanah on the table?
That could be, yeah, 100%. And obviously we have gold also, because some of the begonim of the coin were basically gold, yeah. Hey, we have the highest guest in the world. Come here, I missed you so much. He's the cutest brother in the world. Hey, אתה זוכר אותי? כן. אתה יודע כמה אני אוהב אותך? אתה רוצה לשבת על ידי או מה אבא או איתי? לידך. טוב. He is the cutest brother. Come here. אין לך מושג, אני כל כך שמח לראות אותך. אז שב על ידי, קרוב ממש. טוב, אוי 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 אוי. טוב, טוב. Micha, what's going on? We have only 5 minutes, but who cares? Okay, then we have a few more minutes, yeah? This is also very important, and we may not have a chance to learn the whole thing. But everybody knows Seder night, when we eat, you have to lean on the left side. And this is so strong that according to most, imagine I eat matzah and I didn't lean. And then suddenly, after Afikomen, Seder night, I go to sleep, and I realize I didn't eat matzah leaning. I have to get up, put my pants on again, wash my hands, and after I eat matzah again, and make alachilas matzah. Yeah. Go out. Okay, maybe we'll learn this tomorrow, but I just want to give you a taste. When you eat more, you don't have to lean back. Because more is a symbol of slavery. So you don't have to lean back. When it comes to koyach, it's really machlokes. Because we eat more and matzah. Because of the more, I shouldn't lean. God bless you. Because of the matzah, I should, but basically most poskim agree that by koirach, when I put matzah and the more together, I should lean. But then there's again a big controversy. Besides the matzah, okay, by karpas, the first thing you eat, radishes, you don't have to lean back, only from the feast on. The question is, do you have to have the whole feast leaning back? That means the Haseva is mamish the whole, everything Seder night besides more has to be done by Haseva, or it's just like matzah and the Afrikaner. Okay, now I just want to give you one sweet Torah. Basically, Haseva is really a little bit arrogant, right? I'm sitting here like I'm the Tsar of Russia. This is so deep and so beautiful, Ramesh. You know what our problem is? We don't know anymore what humility is, and we don't know what arrogance is. Have no idea. We always do it at the wrong time. We are arrogant at the wrong time, and we are humble at the wrong time. You know something? If I am arrogant, God bless you. Just remember what the Belzer Rebbe said, we learned 1,000 times. When God gives you something, you can be proud of it. When you do something, you should be humble about it. If I were to tell you, I want you to know I got out of Egypt, was my idea. I gave God the idea of getting out of Egypt. It wasn't your idea. Mama should give from God, right? So here, a lot of rabbis say that what we need fixing most is our arrogance. And the Gemara says, Kolam is goy, kilo ovid avodah. When you're arrogant, it's like worshiping idols. You make yourself bigger than you are, right? Just remember, friends, Seder night is the utmost wiping out of idol worship. Egypt was a seat hold of pagan worship. And Seder night, I'm getting out of every billionth ounce of pagan worship. And one of the most terrible pagan worships is worshiping myself, making myself arrogant. But mamish Haseba, yeah, I'm sitting arrogant, but there's so much holiness. Seder night when the Yid leans back. It's not me, Shlomo, being big. It's not Moshe, it's not Yanko. It's mamish Yidden thanking God, Moshe, Master of the world. Mamish, thank you so much for making kings out of us. Taking slaves and making kings out of us. What a privilege. And it has nothing to do with the Torah. I just want to mention my father. I think I shared with you, when we were little kids in Vienna, one day my brother came home and he was crying. Must have been maybe 6 years, 7 years old. And said enough, it began already. He says, I walk on the street and kids yell at me, call me dirty Jew. I was crying. And he says to my father, was I supposed to call them back dirty goy? And my father put my brother on his knee, I'll always remember it. And my brother says to him, if he calls you dirty Jew, and you call him back dirty goy, then you're the same like him. So my father says to him, a slave, when someone assaults him, he gets wild and it's his back. A prince ignores it. Because the moment you respond, it means it reached you. You're not prince. Someone calls you dirty Jew? Okay. He doesn't know what a Jew is, I'm sorry. Seder night, we're mamish Yidden, and not this stupid American talk, I'm proud to be a Jew. Stupid, right? I mean, mamish. V'yigba liba b'daka Hashem. You know what Reb Nachman says? Do you need more arrogance than praying, telling God what you need? Talking to God and believing that He listens to you? Isn't that the most awesome arrogance? And you know what the biggest, most awesome arrogance is? Torah Shabbat Peh. Here Moshe Rabbeinu brings down the Torah from heaven, and I, 3,800 years later, I'm adding to the Torah. I'm so sorry. Should I hold you more strong? Okay? The Magish Tov, okay? Okay, Tov. You hear, friends? You know, it's not to be believed. Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach was talking about it a lot of times. You know, Tosis asked the question, it doesn't answer. In 1,000 years after Tosis, I can give a tale. Isn't that arrogance? But Gewalt, what the holy arrogance. Gewalt, you know. So he says his Seder is mamish the deepest fixing of arrogance. Then there's a whole big Torah if a waiter is supposed also to eat the Haseva. Because maybe a waiter, because he's serving you, say the night, so maybe he's really a little bit of a slave, right? There's a whole controversy for the poskim. Well, then they said that if the master of the house insists they should eat Passover, that means you're not my slave, right? It's Gewalt, right? And women, no, listen to me, this is unbelievable. Yeah, Gewalt. But today, all the women are kosher, yeah. He says, Mamish, very down to earth. There was a time that said, women were not so important. So, the women were not sitting lean. But today it says, every woman has enough pride that she can eat Passover. It's unbelievable.
Who says that?
The Shlomo, I mean, the poskim.
Is that also in sense saying that there was a time when women weren't suffering from the negative pride that men were? So
Could
they
also
didn't
be.
need to lean because they didn't need to
Yeah,
fix
possible, yeah, could be,
it.
yeah. I tell you what, you're 100% right. You know what it is? Because the women, since they didn't make the golden calf, because isn't this the biggest arrogance to say that you know who God is? What a chutzpah, right? Today, have you ever seen those missionaries, they come and talk to you and they say, I know God. Do you know God? Sometimes I walk on the street and a cute little missionary comes up to me and he says, you know God? What? What a chutzpah, right? Can you imagine the Baruch Rebbe coming up and he says, do you know anything about God? I know God. I once walked on the street when I was still close to Lubavitch. I walked on Eastern Parkway, and there a little Yiddish, like Moshe the tailor, asked me, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Lubavitch Rebbe. He says, Rabbi Schneerson? I said, yes. He says, I know the guy. You know what it means, you know the guy? I know his name, I know where he lives, right? You call it, I know the guy, right? What does he know, right? So I know there was one God, I know where he lives, hopefully. So you're right, because the women did not make the Egel Azov, their pride maybe was never so violated like by us men said, It's true, there's a whole thing, I don't know, according to psychology, but who is more into bragging, men or women? Ilana, jump it. Let's learn one more thing. There's a few more minutes.
למה אני רוצה ללכת לרגע?
כן, אתה הולך לשבת... Yeah, where's he going? Good. Okay, this is very important. When you sit with your Rebbe, you need mamish permission from your Rebbe to tell you to sit Passover. But if the Rebbe didn't give you permission, then you should not lean. This is also very important. Listen to me. When we wash and we eat matzah, you have to eat 2 kesesim. One for hamoitz lechem and oretz, right? Because it's moitzi, right? And then for matzah, right? First you make hamoitz lechem and oretz. Yamuchuy v'edimon kezai. Then you say alachilas matzah. Just remember, the first time you eat matzah, you have to eat mamish 2 kesesim. You know, some people take a little crumb and they think they're yotze. Has to be mamish a big piece. The question is only the first kezais I eat for hamoitz lechem and oretz, and the second kezais I eat for achilas matzah. Do I have to eat the first kezais also by Passover? Because this I'm not eating it on the level of matzah, I'm just eating it on the level of bread. I said hamoitz lechem and oretz. So it's a big machlokes haposkim. But one thing they agree, that if, you're back, but the you hear, friends? Everyone at the poskim agrees, if I didn't eat that Passover, I don't have to start over again. But I should. What is afikomen? Afikomen mamish. Afikomen you have to eat Passover. But again, there's a big controversy. If you ate the first kezais of matzah Passover, and then you realize you didn't eat afikomen Passover, if you have to go back and eat Passover or not. But this is only before benching. After the benching, that's it, and it's finished. The 4 cups you have to drink cleaning back. Yeah. Okay, I know we don't have time right now to go into it. Everybody knows that the 4 cups are for the 3 matzahs, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and the 4 cups of wine are for the 4 holy mothers. Sorah. Okay, the first, when I make Kiddush, I mamish declare there is one God. Sorah was mamish the master of a non-pagan. She was the wife of Avraham, non-pagan. And what you know, something awesome deep, which is cutting right through. You know, Sarah was so beautiful, right? Sarah looked exactly like Chava before she was driven out of paradise. So Sarah could have been have false pride, you know? Sarah was mamish completely cleansed from pride. You know, Avraham Avinu said to Sarah, was that getting him up in the depths? Hineno yudati ki isha yefas. He said to Sarah, I want you to know that I know how beautiful you are. Not so simple, right? So the first cup of wine is mamish, the cup of our Holy Mother Sarah. And you know why Sarah, by our Holy Mothers, all the Yiddishkeit comes from our 4 Holy Mothers? Because our 4 Holy Mothers cleansed the deepest depths of our being. Okay, Sarah is cleansing us from pagan worship. Then comes Rivka. This is all Torah. Rivka was the biggest master of knowing what is truth and what's a lie. It's a little like when I learned before. You know, Esau, when he came to the house of Yitzchak, you think he walked around with a whip? He walked around with a streimel and a big gavel, right? Ah, Rivka saw the fag, it's not true, right? And you know something? That I don't know about Yaakov and Esau, but everybody knows that Esau, the Gemara says the Mashiach is coming, Esau will sit there next to Yaakov. And nobody will believe it's Esau. But then the Rebbe will come and he'll throw them out. That means it's mamish heavenly to look through all this is all a lie, right? I mean, take civilization today, you know, Esau. Looks so beautiful, so human, gewalt, right? The biggest fake in the world, right? America, right, was there, democracy, right? I once heard a rabbi, should forgive me, he says, the Torah is beautiful, but now that we have a democracy, we don't need the Torah anymore, right? First of all, stupidly, if there's anything good democracy, because it's based on the Torah. But just, Rivka is the master of the truth. She's the master of brachas. When Rivka knows exactly, Rivka knows who is the one to lead the world, and who's not good to lead the world. Rochel, everybody knows, is a Keres Habayis. Rochel is the master of Panosa. Remember, Yosef HaTzadik was feeding the whole world. Basically, Yosef HaTzadik, you know, Rochel Imenu is a Keres Habayis. She was. Do you know how they divided the household by Yaakov Avinu? Rochel was in charge of the kitchen, and Leah was in charge of the children. Leah was in charge of the diapers, and Rochel was in charge of the food. I mean, this is down to earth, right? In heaven, this is the deepest depths, right? Okay, so the third cup is a Holy Mother Rochel. Panosa. You know, mamish. Panosa not only physical, what they eat. Rochel knows the secret, what keeps me alive. We all need something which should keep us alive. The question is this mamish what you need? We were learning before, like chumotz u'matzah, right? You know, you can have everything, and inside be completely empty. Completely empty. You know, it says, Kim miyotcha amleya absucha, right? You know what God's, when you eat, when you are blessed by God, Panosa comes from God, then your heart is so full. It's possible to have everything and be completely empty. A Holy Mother Rochel is the master, mamish, of filling your heart. Mamish, filling us up. Then comes the Holy Mother Leah. Leah is the master of redemption. She's the mother of Mashiach. What do we know, right? Okay, folks, anybody wants to tell me something about David? You want to say something fast? Or slow? Don't tell me anything.
One thing I was thinking of, and maybe it's something we can focus on a little bit tomorrow. You had said earlier about the woman and the fixing she does in the house and so on, and the different people you spoke to that say, you know, they feel like they're helping.
Yeah.
And because you said that Pesach was so much inside, and how Pesach is you have to have a house for it, and I thought that the thing is that, I mean, for the most part, the man, I mean, symbolically, maybe today in the world less so than before, most of what he's doing that affects the house, he's doing outside of the house. Yeah. And so you don't really see it. And the woman who's in the house, in a sense, is working it inside, and you see everything. Everything shows. It's inside, and yet it all shows. And he's sort of all outside, and yet you don't see any of it, when you're inside. And I mean, I was really struck by that, and then the role that somehow when you brought that up about the leaning, they made me think more of that, to understand what that's about, of when we do things on the inside and it shows on the inside, or how many of you are trying to do things on the inside and we want it to show on the outside, or people trying to do things on the outside and I don't know, it just, there was something there that seemed to hit
You sure you want to say something? Maybe you have some fast Torah for me, huh?
I just wanted to say I was thinking about the four legs of the table.
Yeah?
So that we know that the only thing that'll change, like the alphabet is the words that will give our life order. And the only thing that'll change in the alphabet in terms of Mashiach is that the shin, instead of having 3 legs, will have 4 legs. So it's on Seder night, you want to connect to that Torah, that you're talking about the Torah of the Mashiach. This Torah Ba'al Peh that goes beyond where we are right now. That connects with that
Very nice.
that infinite place.
Gewalt.
I mean, this is a lesson that we have to start with physical. We have to bring things into the world by starting with action.
What do you say, Micha? Anything? Yeah? Heilige Rebbe Reb Meir, Heilige Rebbe Reb Miki. Tell us anything good, Gewalt.
Tell her to ask a question.
What?
Tell her to ask a question.
Who? Yeah? You want to ask me something? Or you want to tell me something?
Are you feeling right?
Yeah?
No.
Oh, I'd be so honored if you ask me. למה מה? מדוע פרעה רצה שהיהודים יהיו עבדים שלו? אני אשאל אותך שאלה פשוטה, מדוע גנב רוצה להיות גנב? מדוע גנב רוצה להיות גנב? בגלל שהלב שלו הוא לא טהור. אדם שהוא לא טהור, שהוא מלא רע בלב, הוא רוצה רק להרחיב לאחרים. אז פרעה לא מאמין בבני אדם, הוא רק מאמין שהוא צריך לעשות כסף, הכל בשבילו. אצל פרעה שום אדם לא קיים, רק הוא קיים לבד. הוא רואה אותם, כולם היו מושחתים לגמרי, לצערי הרב. אבל ברוך השם עכשיו, אחרי שיצאנו ממצרים, לאט לאט אנחנו מתקנים את העולם, אני מקווה. וגם אתה תתקן את העולם נתן. אתה יודע החילוק? אנחנו עם ישראל, אנחנו ממש נותנים לתוך עולם, מאירים לתוך עולם שבן אדם אדם הוא דמותו של הקדוש ברוך הוא. בצלם אלוקים. אתה מבין אתה? אצל פרעה אדם היה כמו חמור או סוס. רק יש לו שכל וחמור אין לו שכל. אבל בעצם הוא אותו הבריאה. אז חמור עובד. אדם שהוא גם כן יעבוד בשבילי. וכך בא משה רבנו ולימד אותם לא. אדם הוא נברא בצלם אלוקים. אבל אני נורא שמח שאתה שואל אותי. Someone told me that his kid asked him, how could they leave Egypt if they had a job? You know? Anyone to say something fast or slow? Okay, that's it. Manishtan is tomorrow. Thank you so much. Thank you.